In this moment, in every moment, I know the truth that God is everywhere present. Though my circumstances may seem to have power, I know they do not. They are results and can be overcome. I now invoke spiritual law, the law which is higher than natural law. I turn away from any fear arising in mind and look to God. God is the Spirit alive in me. God is the Spirit alive in all living things. God is good, and I accept the power of good in my life now. I accept the power of good for all on the planet and declare for myself and all people divine order, divine wisdom, divine right action, and I declare it all happening in peace and with ease. Good is now revealed in all circumstances. God is in all situations. I rejoice that this is so, and I let go now, knowing all is well. It's important that we treat. And when you think of situations like illness or injury, perhaps you have experienced them or are, or a loved one. Think of what Emmett Fox says. You do not have to accept any conditions or any kind of karma if you will rise above it in consciousness. We're blessed. We're blessed. We have choice. We have the choice to choose joy. When you think about spiritual laws, again, sometimes people forget to live in alignment with spiritual law. And Jesus taught us much about spiritual law. He said, "Thou shalt love thy God, the Lord thy God, with all thy heart and all thy might and all thy soul. And thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Very simple words, sometimes seem a little bit hard to remember or to follow. Well, people don't remember this or ignore these spiritual laws. Of course, when they use force to take away someone else's freedom or perform acts of violence, even when we talk negatively about ourselves or someone else, we are not honoring that spiritual law. When we spend time feeling anger or guilt or fear, we're not living in the truth. When we choose lifestyles that don't honor our body, then the peace and joy that is always there, waiting to be revealed in our lives, seems to be covered up. And we are not living lives of joy. But always, always, the circumstances in our lives are results. They are not the cause. Well, when you listen to the news seeks dramatic events, right? And often we hear of the suffering of our brothers and sisters, and it can be overwhelming. But we can choose, instead of feeling sad or worried or upset, we can choose to be excited. To be excited about the chance to create incredible new experiences for ourselves and for everyone on the planet. Always, as the children know, Newness is here. It's waiting for us. Joy is waiting for us. Cher Woolard reminded us of a very significant practice during Peace Night. She said, if we each but spend 5 minutes a day contemplating peace, it will have a great effect on our lives and on the race consciousness. For we're all connected. So there's things that we can do. We don't have to do some huge thing like move to a third world country and spend our life as a missionary, although that's a wonderful thing to do. We don't have to give $1 million to help people who are impoverished, but we can treat. We can take some time every day to know a higher truth for ourselves and for everyone. Ernest Holmes always seems to say it so clearly. In Lessons in Spiritual Mind Healing, he said, all objective conditions and facts and experiences are in relationship to an invisible cause, which is creative mind. No condition, whether we think of it as positive or negative, arises out of itself. No condition, whether we think of it as positive or negative, arises out of itself. Evil has no power in itself. It is merely a negative way of using a positive power. However, because all conditions have a sequence of cause and effect, as soon as any particular condition exists, it may continue to project lesser conditions around it. These secondary causes, however, are projections and never things in themselves. We become caught in the sequence of these negative conditions. We come to believe in them as positive within themselves, and thus we're caught in a perpetual trap. So he's reminding us we don't have to get caught in a trap. Conditions, circumstances, situations are results and have no power. And the way to escape from the dilemma of focusing on the negative is to look through the condition to the primary or first cause where energy, intelligence, and power exists without any limiting circumstance whatsoever. And when we do this, we're thinking in the absolute. So it's amazing the power each individual person has. We need to remember it. So how can we use this power? How can we use this wonderful spiritual law, as you believe, so you receive, to focus on creating joy in our lives, loving God, loving each other? Ernest again says, let us accept change and make the most of it and capitalize on it. The action of law never changes, but the direction of the action is always up to us. Life can become a glorious adventure filled with more of everything good as we gradually or suddenly come to change our pattern of thinking so that it embraces more of good things. This is exciting. You know, looking at change. Our human condition, many times we resist change. There's a reorganization at work. Our car breaks, so we have to buy a new one. The place we're living in, something happens and we need to move. We can resist the change, or we can think the change is a way to help us let loose of our grip and open to something new and exciting. So how do we make that change to something new and exciting? How do we make the change for more joy in our lives? You might have heard this before. Spiritual mind treatment, meditation, prayer. Why do I say it again? It's just like Ernest said, we know the truth, but how often do we use it? It's a way that works. Now, temporary changes can often and should be made by physically doing something. But when we want a lasting change, it must be made by changing our circumstance, by changing our, our consciousness and our belief. Because the consciousness and the belief is what keeps creating the circumstance. So by changing our consciousness, our belief, we're creating a new cause. We can create new cause in our life and get new results.